Viper is easily one of the best controllers in the game. She's one of the only agents that's considered a must-pick on multiple maps in the game, and in a way, she's basically defined the meta of Valorant for the last 3 years, being featured as one of the main agents in most double controller comps. Now in pro play, Viper's played on Icebox, Sunset, Bind, Split, Breeze, Lotus, and even on occasion, Ascent. There are very few agents that have this in common with her. Now, with how important Viper is in Valorant, it only makes sense that every single one of you should know how to play her. Now, luckily, that's exactly what we're going to be teaching you today. We're going to break down every single one of her abilities, what makes them special, and why exactly Viper is considered so strong. By the end of this video, every single one of you should feel comfortable playing Viper in competitive. So buckle up, and let's hop right into it, starting with her Molly. Viper's Snakebite ability is a powerful tool to hold down key areas of the map and deny enemy advances, especially on defense. It's honestly pretty straightforward. It's a Molly, and what do Mollies do? They stall. Picture this. You're holding B site on Icebox, and the enemy team is rushing in full force like they're all on a caffeine high or something. As you hear the footsteps getting closer, toss that well-aimed snakebite at the plant location, and this acidic puddle is going to buy your team valuable seconds to rotate over, while your opponents are forced to just wait it out. Those extra moments make the difference between winning and losing a crucial round. Clearing out corners, snakebite's got your back there too. Imagine you're playing Bind and you suspect someone's just camping in that pesky corner on the right side of B site. Instead of dry peeking into a potential headshot, shoot your Molly in to flush them out. They're either forced to swing out into the open, now vulnerable, or just sit and die to the Molly. Neither one is really a great option for them. Finally, one of the many great uses for Snakebite, of course, is during post plants. However, now with only one Snakebite, it can be not as beneficial to rely on lineups. With only one Snakebite at your disposal, it's often better to use this Molly to help stall the retake than it is to save it for when the defenders get into sight and start the defuse. Remember, it lasts for 6.5 seconds, and just using it to stall the retake for that long can oftentimes be much better than letting the defenders in and using it to stall the defuse. Viper's Poison Control Orb is one of the trickiest smokes in Valorant because it isn't just any ordinary smoke. You can toss this orb wherever you like, and once it lands, you have the ability to raise or drop it at will. Now, this may not sound that crazy, but just stick with us and we'll explain. Every time the smoke goes up, you're going to create questions for the opposing team. Are you walking around behind it? Could you push through it? Is it all just a distraction for something else? All of these things could be true. Now, this often means they're going to need to invest some sort of utility into dealing with this. Maybe a drone to see on the other side of it, or even just a player to sit and wait and check it out. Either way, you're getting resources out of your opponents. Now, for this reason, using Poison Cloud effectively means placing it in high-traffic areas where it creates a lot of questions for your opponents. For example, here's a great spot you could smoke on Lotus. This smoke lets you cross towards rubble unspotted, which can make it incredibly difficult for the defenders to deal with. They're basically forced to either give up rubble or fight for it to make sure you haven't crossed. It forces them to react in one way or another, which allows you to play the game on your turf. Learning lineups with the Poison Orb is crucial for setting it up exactly where you need it to get maximum value. With the right lineup, you can drop it on the same spot every time, giving you and your team a reliable tool to work with. If you're just chucking it, sometimes it's not going to land exactly where you want. And remember, you can't pick it up, so once it's thrown, you're stuck with it. So, just be careful. Viper's Toxic Screen is the reason she's so often picked in pro play. Its ability to block vision across multiple sight lines literally makes it perfect for setting up lurks or helping your team execute site takes. The best example is attacking B or A site on Breeze, a map that's practically designed for this ability. Stretch the screen across the entire site and you're going to cover every key angle your team needs to worry about while entering site. Opponents either have to walk through your wall and take a massive risk, or just wait it out as you guys get a literal free sight. Another powerful aspect of the screen too, which is same as the Poison Orb, is that you can raise and drop it whenever needed. This is nice because while on the attack, enemies might try to molly you to prevent your team from exiting the choke point. As Viper though, you can just put your wall down and wait it out while your fuel recharges. Once the utility fades, boom, wall's back up. With full fuel to work with and one less piece of utility to worry about, you and your team are free to storm the site like it's yours for the taking. The real value of Toxic Screen, though, lies in its lurking potential. You can cut off an insane amount of side lines, which makes it nearly impossible for defenders to safely gather information from. When playing Split, for instance, stretch the screen from A main to A heaven, basically just cutting off every sightline the defenders can take from site or deep heaven. This forces the defenders to play close ramps if they want to actually gather information on your position, which sets you up to land a sneaky lurk play. Now, you can use this sort of lurk setup to condition your opponents into reacting certain ways, and then exploit their weaknesses when they do. Viper's Wall adds so many options to attack when used correctly, so definitely don't sleep on the lurk setups. Speaking of which, if you're really looking to master Viper, we recently released our brand new Viper course over on the SkillCapped website. Over there, we cover every offensive and defensive setup you could ever need to know for literally every map in the map pool. Not only that, but we also dive into solo controller setups that you can run in case your team only has one controller. Now, this is pretty common in matchmaking, unfortunately, but that's okay because it's really not all that bad as long as you know your setups. And along with that, we also cover a bunch of different techniques all the best Viper players use to dominate their matches in solo queue, so you're definitely going to want to check it out. Remember, our whole site is backed by a rank improvement guarantee, so if you do not climb while using our service, you literally get your money back, no questions asked. This is our promise to you that our service works, and if it doesn't work, you shouldn't pay. So check it out using the link below for a discount today, and we'll see you there. Finally, Viper's Pit is easily one of the strongest ults in the entire game that can turn the tide of a round, especially in post-plant situations. When you're attacking, if you've planted the spike and get a solid Viper's Pit down, it almost guarantees a win if numbers are even. And if you're down, it can even pull off a miraculous comeback if the enemies aren't careful. Say you're planting on a site icebox. Pop the pit in the back right corner over the spike. Now you can see enemies' feet as they push out rafters, effectively making a one-way. Not only that, but you can also keep your back towards the corner, where everyone is forced to walk directly into you. There's no getting a sneak attack on you from here. And on defense, it's usually easier to use since you don't really have to wait for post-plant. Just slam it down at the choke point leading to site and tell your team to stack the other site. Odds are the attackers are going to hesitate to walk into your pit because the thick fog makes their entry extremely risky. But if they do push in, you'll be good for at least 1 or 2 kills. If you've got a teammate close by in case of a quick rush, it can be nice to have them hold for you for a second in case the enemy team tries to rush. Now, normally, you're going to want to shoot any sort of Skydog or Sova drone so they aren't forced to back off right away. Now, with the pit in place, attackers will have to rethink their plan. Do we risk it trying to suicide through a Viper's Pit, or do we double back and push into a stack on the other side of the map? It's never going to be an easy call. Enough of that, though. Let's take a look at a few rounds from some of the best Viper players in the game and talk about what sets them apart from the competition. To start, what we really want to highlight is how these players aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Many Viper players in low elo will play really far back and be a bit afraid to take some fights firsthand. The thing is, though, it's going to be very hard to have a consistent impact when you're playing like this. Now, take a look at how Nats does it here.
Made that up.
He was on top of the box.
Can you nade mid?
I nade mid.
Poison's on.
Nice hit. Woman low.
Spike down mid.
Oh fuck.
One enemy remaining.
He starts the round by throwing a lineup that he has for his smoke orb in mid, just to make sure that it covers the entire choke point with no gaps. If you just freeball it every round, there is a high chance you're going to mess it up every now and then, leaving holes that the attackers can abuse. As the round starts, Nats gets smoked off in vents. Luckily, his weapon of choice is the Phantom, which is excellent for spraying through smokes, so as the attackers push up, he throws down a snake bite and looks for a spam kill. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't get anything, but this buys his team time to rotate over towards mid. As his team collapses, Natch drops his smoke, and notice how aggressively he just pushes up here. He's practically leading the charge for his team in mid despite playing as a controller. Now, one of the strengths of Viper is that you're able to raise and drop your smoke like this whenever you choose, and Nats takes advantage of this here. This has a lot of different uses though. Let's take a look at a round for another pro player, Zander.
Two mid, Harbor and Jet. I think they're trying to come tunnel.
Poison's on.
Right, bottom mid, 2.
Cypher is 1.
Toxins going
Hey,
up.
walled for B split, walled for B split.
Wait, close double door. Are you sure? Close double door.
Go back.
Oh
That was
my
their two
god.
Spike down mid.
Take a note of how this round, even though it's not on screen here, Zander is constantly cycling his fuel in A main. He raises his smoke orb and then drops it, and then he raises his wall and then drops it. Throughout the entire round, as you can see, Zander is never at 100% fuel. He's always creating pressure with his utility. Similar to Nats though, he's also not afraid to take fights. This is a round-winning play that he makes in mid, landing these 2 kills, and of course, he's got the aim to back it up. But remember, you can't make plays like this if you're too afraid to do it in the first place. It's very important to have confidence as Viper, because a lot of the time, you're just going to be lurking. You can't be a timid lurker. Otherwise, you're likely just going to get no value. But you have to be willing to make the plays when your team needs it. Take a look at this clip from Silenx, another fantastic Viper player as he plays on Bind.
Hold on, we're gonna cut noise for like 10 seconds.
I'm gonna get you,
poke, and then we're gonna TP. Uh-oh.
The toxin
Oh,
screen
Fuck it.
down.
Okay, fuck it.
Close out fun.
I'm gonna flash out, I'm gonna flash.
Oh, shit, he's in it. Where's my team?
Toxins going up. The toxin screen
Heaven,
down.
heaven.
This standard Viper lurk setup is incredibly common on Bind, where you place a wall across short that gives you easy access into U-Haul. This is difficult to defend against because there's not a lot of places you can get info on short with it up. Oftentimes, it forces some sort of sentinel utility to be present either in short or U-Haul to deny the lurk, or a player to actively contest this entire area. It just adds a lot more options to your attack. As you can see, his team takes advantage of here. Right now, he's actually queued with Zander, who's playing on the other side of the map with his team. Now, what you're going to see is that Zander and his team is creating a lot of pressure towards B to try and fake that it's a B play. Meanwhile, this buys time for Silenx to work up short and look for a pick onto the A players. This is how lurks generally work. You want your team to pull attention to one side of the map so that you can gain space on the other side of the map and potentially find a 1v1 to open up the round. Sure enough, he lands the kill onto the U-Haul player, and then you'll see his team immediately responds by hitting the teleporter B long and coming over towards A. After picking up another refrag onto the enemy Yoru near Showers, his team has secured A and put themselves in a good position to win the round. The great thing about these lurk setups though is that they really create a ton of options for your team. He doesn't have to just walk up short every round alone. Otherwise, that would be way too predictable. Instead, take a look at this other round here, where he rallies his team and gets them to all walk up short with him. Now, while they might just expect 1 or 2 players behind this setup, he's bringing a whole team, and they're just going straight into an execute. This wall is great because it lets you do so many different things. You can lurk, you can fake, you can execute, you default. It really just makes your offense infinitely more dynamic. Here is another example of these lurk setups in action, and this time on Split.
Toxins going up.
He's peeking.
Toxin screen down.
We have a 3v1 on this guy, or at least we should.
I'm
Is it
flashing
still
pillar.
Toxins going up.
Building.
You can drop it?
Toxin
Hold on.
screen down.
Yeah, CT.
Hell spawn.
This guy's
I'm
still
done.
CT.
I'm done.
Oof. That flashes?
One enemy remaining.
He's been throwing this same wall a couple of rounds in a row now, and just playing around B main while his team works mid. Notice how he's just cycling the wall up and down while he patiently waits for his team in mid. His team's able to get numbers advantage in mid, so there's really no pressure for him to make a play here, so he just waits. His team regroups B, and then together with the wall, they hit site. This wall is really annoying for the defenders to deal with because there's just always a threat of somebody walking out of B main. Now they could try to play on site to spot out for this lurk, but this risks them giving Silenx a 1v1 on site, which could turn out pretty bad if they get picked off. Other options to deny this pressure would be fighting B main, but that's pretty hard to do since the wall cuts off all of B main as well, making it so when it falls, the attackers could be anywhere. Still though, another great thing about these setups is that when you use them, it forces the enemy to try and react to them. They'll try to come up with solutions to deal with it or craft plays to counter you. This is where you can work in some mind games, okay? So this next round, while the enemy team is on eco, our Viper player quickly throws the wall up and then drops it after walking out, catching the enemy Clove trying to walk out and make a play on their eco round. Off the back of this pick, Viper runs into B site, noticing that if no one is there to trade the kill, the site is likely free for the taking. And sure enough, they get into B site and then rotate over towards heaven to fight mid to protect the guns so the defenders can't upgrade their guns on an eco. Overall, while none of these clips are crazy cool or earth-shattering news, they do showcase that these Viper players aren't afraid to make plays. They're oftentimes lurking and creating openings for their team to win the round. Teamwork. They're constantly cycling their fuel and using their mollies to take fights, and this is what good Viper play looks like. All right, though, guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little bit more about SkillCapped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and we think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's kind of like a gym membership guaranteeing you that you're gonna get ripped. Your local gym would probably go bust if they offered you that. But not us, because we've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. We also have a direct line of communication with subscribers in our Discord so that you can get connected immediately to some of the best players in the game who will respond to every question you ask. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving your game. So that's going to be all for this one today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.